Und die Gedanken meines Herzens dir gefallen, mein Gott, mein Fels und mein Erlöser. Amen. Good morning again. I had a lot of time to read only for fun recently. And I adore reading for fun. Reading to immerse yourself in a story created for you. Because then in your own inner world, we give the story the finishing touches, the last strokes of the brush and intensity of color. Our own being adds the spark that gives life to each character. We spend more time in parts of the book than others. We linger and hold our breath over the words describing the forest that feels like home. And then you can share your experience with other readers. It is an individual and community experience at once. I love reading. Of course, sometimes, even when reading your favorite book of all time, you come across a story, well, a part or a sentence of a story, that make you go, stop, and hesitate and go, wait, really? Like reading this sentence out of context. Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. Well, you know, in my own inner world, that sounds good. It is good to plan for the future well-being of your family and others. And listen, I just returned from a family vacation. I tried hard, and I loved to watch my family relax, eat, drink, decorated alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks, and be merry. Eat, drink, and be merry. Then, of course, the story goes on to say that this man is a fool. Worse, he dies a fool that night. Why is he a fool? Are we not supposed to look ahead and provide for our and our families and our communities' continued safety? Does not sound like a foolish thing to do, to care for future generations. It sounds caring and good. And as for the relax, eat, drink, and be merry part, right after our reading today ends, Jesus addresses his disciples and says, do not worry about your life. And he tells them about how ravens and all the birds and lilies and all the flowers and all life will always have nourishment and clothes. A home will always be cared for by our God. And how much more so are we, his little flock, cared for? Jesus asks the disciples. And so he continues, have faith. Do not keep striving for what you are to eat, to drink, and do not keep worrying. Do not keep striving for what you drink and eat. Don't worry. Well, in other words, faith seems to include relax, eat, drink, and be merry. It does not sound to me that Jesus considers it foolish to enjoy the generous bounty God's gift of life has to offer. No, he teaches us to honor and appreciate life every day. After all, like the unfortunate man in our story found out the hard way, it ends, and we can no longer experience this beautiful and precious life, this world. It would be a shame and ungrateful to always strive and struggle, never enjoy your food or drink in good company and in beautiful places. To honor and appreciate and enjoy a gift as valuable as life, that can't be foolish, right? What makes this man a fool? Our gospel writer Luke writes to an audience of poor people who experience a life of struggle because their daily food and drink, the clothes on their back, their homes, their very lives are always at risk. These people cannot read their favorite books for fun at bedtime because they have no money for the oil in their lamps. That also makes it hard to study for a better position at work. Not that this was uncommon. Jesus and his first followers came from the working poor, the living payday to payday. And it was what most people know in the poor countryside. At the end of most days, with the hopeful exception of Sabbath, people did not have enough. People who worked hard, physical labor, tell their children at dinner that they're not hungry, or I already ate, honey, thank you. Going without because they do not have enough is their experience of life. They do not have enough possession to relax. They don't have enough possessions to not worry about possessions. On the other hand, we are told that the man in our story is rich. And then he enjoys the windfall of a bumper crop. Apparently, he also already has barns, plural. He has barns, while his neighbors save their grain all week for a special meal with family honoring God. There's a saying among them: too much money is like drinking seawater to quench your thirst. Then the rich man decides, and can afford, to tear down the existing barns and build bigger ones, in which he stores the grain from his lucky bumper crop so he can sell it at a later date for higher profit. He has so many possessions that going without anything he wants is not a part of his life's experience, let alone having to do without something he needs. And yet he worries about possessions too, about gaining even more, building ever bigger barns for himself, ignoring his starving neighbors. Like Jesus said, this is a greedy man. This is greed. This is drinking seawater to quench the thirst. And whether he knows it or not, his greed increases his neighbor's need. His excess depends on and feeds their lack. Paul even calls greed idolatry in his letter to the Colossians. But idolater or no, greedy or no, why is he the fool? Yes, he dies, but we all do. At least he never went hungry or had to flee for his life. He's not just a rich person. He is much more and much less at the same time. He is much more because he continuously and tirelessly works on, improves, and increases his wealth and status. It is his existence. He is greedy. And he is much less than rich. Because when you continuously and tirelessly work on, improve, and increase wealth and status, when that is your existence, you are needy. All you have is stuff, things, the biggest barns, nothing else. Remember, we all die, and even the biggest barns stay here. Only God's gift of life transforms. The greedy man squandered his life. This is the story of a man who built bigger and bigger barns for himself, never anything for God, never anything for his neighbor. All his possessions, all his life, all his barns, he only ever builds for himself. And so, when his story ends, barns are all he has. He does not know God, and his neighbors can't know him, because the man never bothered with God or people and spent his time with irrelevant matters. In the life of the world to come, in God's kingdom, the rich man in our story has nothing that matters because he spent his life on nothing that mattered. And he chose this. He chose this. He had a lifetime, a whole life, and he chose to do nothing but build barns for himself. That choice is why he's a fool. What do barns built for God and our neighbor look like? How do we build them? Where do we build them? Any fool can build the places that serve neither God nor neighbor. The blueprint is more or less the same wherever and by whoever they are built. But what we build for God and neighbor is not bound by this lack of imagination, by this foolishness. We can build places, create times, write stories, play music, and paint life for each other. We can, all of us, relax, eat, drink, and be merry together.